We do want to get back to another big story here. People in New York and really across the Northeast United States have been watching this blanket of smoke that has drifted down. Millions of acres in Canada are now on fire. Authorities there still struggling to put it out. The air quality conditions have now reached extreme levels. Some say levels that have not been seen in generations. The mayor of New York City advising everyone to stay indoors. And if you do have to be outside, wear a mask. Flight delays abounding at LaGuardia Airport, in Philadelphia as well, and out in New Jersey. Bloomberg's Sullivan joining us right now, who covers all things weather for us, to talk a little bit more about this. And Brian, we keep using the term unprecedented. I don't know how far back in history you have to go, but I certainly think a lot of us who've been alive long enough and lived in this area have never seen anything like this.
No, this is really unprecedented. That's a great word for it. You know, you have to go back probably more than 20 years, at least to the late 20th century, to get anything like this level that we've been seeing here.
Talk to us a little bit here about what happens next. The mayor came out and he basically said that he expects these conditions to continue for a few days, though they may get better, but he says that then they'll probably get worse before it finally dissipates. Do we have any sense here as to how that works, Brian? Is there some sort of jet stream? Is there some sort of weather pattern that's actually going to determine how long this lingers over New York City?
There is actually. There's a big low pressure system right now, kind of straddling Maine and Nova Scotia, and the back end of that is what's pumping all this smoke down into New York. That's stuck there, and it's going to be stuck for a few days. Now, tomorrow, some of the smoke may actually go west of New York. Conditions may not be as bad as today. The larger problem, however, is these fires up in Canada have been burning for weeks. Last week it was Boston that got blanketed. This week it's New York. Next week, who knows? You know, it could come back to New York, come back to Boston. It could be further out to Pittsburgh. So this is something that's we're going to be grappling with all through the summer, I think.
We should point out, too, just as far as folks keeping an eye on plans that they might have had, I did mention that the airports are suffering significant delays, in some cases more than 2-hour delays. We should point out that a game that was scheduled to take place at Yankee Stadium, a baseball game tonight, has been postponed. We are learning that Google, Alphabet, as well as other companies in this area have advised their staff who can to work from home. Brian, how common are these types of wildfires in this area? Because whenever we talk about wildfires, at least here in the United States, it's usually about what's going on in California. I know Canada has these seasonal fires as well, but have they been this severe in the past?
No, the Prime Minister said that this is the worst fire season that Canada has had. And usually June is a big month for fires in Canada, but this started weeks ago, several weeks ago, in fact. In Alberta, caught fire in early May. These fires in Quebec have been burning for weeks. Last week, there was a huge fire in Nova Scotia. So basically, Canada is on fire from one end to the other, and that's really unprecedented.
And what do they do to actually stop that? We're showing footage now of a helicopter dropping water, but do they basically have to wait for these fires to either burn themselves out or for Mother Nature to provide the real water to put it out?
In some of these locations, they're far away and too remote for anyone to get to. So, you know, they can make a kind of a passing effort to try to put them out. But some of these fires are just going to have to burn themselves out. You know, the ones that are closer to regional areas, like the ones in Alberta, they jumped on right away. Nova Scotia, they moved people in right away. But these ones up in remote Quebec, you know, it could be a long time before they put out.
Give us a sense. I know you follow weather patterns and kind of look ahead here for us as to what we can kind of expect over the next few months, not just in the Northeast here in the U.S., but really across the nation here, and whether we should prepare ourselves for something a little bit more extreme in the months ahead.
So the forecasts right now are calling for most of the United States to be above average for temperatures. So we could see some strain on the electric grids, obviously, because we're going to be having a good series of heat waves. The Northeast is, in particular, should be warmer than normal through most of the summer. The good news, however, is that it looks like there's going to be an El Nino in the Pacific, and that means maybe fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic. So we could get a break on that end of it. But in terms of the heat, in terms of the stress on the grid, in terms of the stress on agriculture through the Midwest, it could be a hot summer, and that all those things will add up.
All right, Brian Sullivan with Bloomberg News here, and you just saw the shot over New York City. Remember, it's 4 in the afternoon here. Normally, the sun would be out. Conditions are still bad, and we should point out, for those of you planning to move around the city, there are significant flight delays at all the major airports. 2 baseball games, Major League Baseball games, one in New York City and one in Philadelphia, have been postponed. So if you were planning to go to those, you need to make other plans as well. And we should point out that the mayor in New York City, as well as authorities in other cities nearby, have advised everyone to stay inside, and if you do go outside, to wear an N95 mask.